Have you ever felt an unexplainable connection to someone only to watch them suddenly become distant? What if that distance isn't rejection at all? What if at this very moment they're fighting a battle so deep that even they can't put it into words and somehow you are at the center of it? The greatest soul connections don't begin with certainty. They begin with confusion, fear, and an inner storm that changes both people forever. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you may see your relationship and your own journey in a way you've never imagined before. There are moments in life when someone enters your thoughts with unusual intensity, even though nothing on the surface seems to explain it. You cannot point to a message, a conversation, or a shared experience that justifies the feeling. Yet something inside you insists that an invisible story is unfolding. While most people dismiss these moments as imagination or coincidence, deep psychology suggests that the most important struggles often happen far beyond what can be seen. Human beings rarely reveal their greatest battles to the outside world. Instead, they carry them in silence, hidden beneath routines, smiles, and ordinary conversations. It is entirely possible that the person you feel deeply connected to is facing one of those silent battles right now. The strange part is that this challenge may have little to do with external circumstances. It may not be about work, family, distance, or timing. The real conflict often exists within the unseen layers of the mind where old fears, forgotten memories, and emotional patterns quietly influence every decision. A person may genuinely long for closeness while simultaneously feeling compelled to run from it. They may desire love, yet fear the vulnerability it demands. From the outside, their behavior appears confusing or even contradictory. From the inside, however, it feels like survival. Many people believe that meaningful relationships begin the moment two individuals meet. Yet, the deeper transformation often starts long before they are fully aware of each other. Life has a remarkable way of preparing people through challenges that seem unrelated at first. Periods of loneliness, disappointment, emotional loss, and self-doubt can gradually reshape a person's inner world. These experiences are not always punishments or signs that something has gone wrong. Sometimes they are preparing the mind to recognize a connection that could not have been understood before. This silent preparation is rarely comfortable. It forces people to question who they are beneath the identities they have carefully built. The confident person begins to notice hidden insecurity. The independent person discovers an unexpected fear of abandonment. The emotionally guarded person realizes that avoiding pain has also meant avoiding genuine intimacy. These realizations do not arrive gently. They often appear through confusion, emotional exhaustion, or a growing sense that something important is missing. Even when life appears complete, what makes this process even more mysterious is that another person's presence can unknowingly activate it. Without speaking a single word, someone can become a mirror that reflects everything another person has tried to ignore. The connection itself becomes less about romance and more about awakening. It exposes emotional wounds that have remained hidden for years and brings unconscious patterns into awareness. This can feel overwhelming, especially for someone who has spent much of their life protecting themselves from emotional uncertainty. That is why distance should not always be interpreted as indifference. Silence does not always mean the absence of feeling. Sometimes people withdraw because the emotions they are experiencing are larger than anything they have faced before. They need time to understand why a single person has stirred thoughts, memories, and emotions that seemed buried long ago. The deeper the emotional impact, the more likely it is that the mind will attempt to regain control by creating space. While this invisible struggle unfolds, both people may experience an unexplained sense that something significant is happening beneath the surface. One feels drawn without knowing why. The other feels challenged without fully understanding what has changed. Neither person has the complete picture, yet both are participating in the same psychological process. It is a quiet transformation unfolding beyond words where the greatest battle is not between two people, but within one heart that is slowly awakening to truths it can no longer avoid. One of the most confusing experiences in any deep connection is discovering that the closer you become to someone, the more they seem to retreat. Most people assume this is proof that the feelings were never real. But the human mind is rarely that simple. Sometimes genuine closeness awakens emotions that have remained hidden for years. Instead of creating immediate comfort, it exposes fears that have quietly shaped a person's life without their awareness. What appears to be rejection may actually be the beginning of an intense inner conflict. Every person carries emotional patterns formed through past experiences. Some learned that expressing vulnerability led to disappointment. Others discovered that trusting too deeply resulted in pain, loss, or betrayal. Over time, these experiences become invisible rules that guide behavior. They operate beneath conscious awareness, influencing choices long before logic has a chance to intervene. Then someone enters their life whose presence feels unusually familiar, safe, or emotionally significant. Rather than feeling only excitement, the mind recognizes that this connection has the power to change everything. That realization can be deeply unsettling. When another person begins to see the parts of us we usually hide, we are faced with a difficult choice. We can remain behind the emotional walls that once protected us, or we can risk allowing someone to witness our true self. This moment creates enormous psychological tension. The desire for closeness grows stronger, but so does the instinct to protect ourselves. These two forces pull in opposite directions, leaving a person feeling trapped between hope and fear. This is why someone may suddenly become quieter, less expressive, or emotionally inconsistent. One day they seem fully present, and the next they appear distant without explanation. Their behavior may even confuse them. They are not necessarily trying to hurt anyone. Instead, they are attempting to understand emotions that have surfaced with unexpected intensity. The connection has become a mirror revealing insecurities, unresolved grief, and old emotional wounds that had been buried beneath years of distraction and routine. The greatest challenge is that the mind often mistakes emotional exposure for danger. It cannot always distinguish between the pain of the past and the possibilities of the present. As a result, it activates protective behaviors designed to reduce vulnerability. These defenses can appear as avoidance, emotional withdrawal, overthinking, or creating unnecessary distance. Ironically, the very person they wish to move closer to becomes the one they temporarily move away from. Not because the connection lacks meaning, but because it carries more meaning than they feel prepared to handle. For the other person, this period can feel heartbreaking. Questions begin to appear. Did I say something wrong? Have their feelings changed? Was the connection only an illusion? Yet, these questions often overlook a deeper reality. Sometimes another person's silence is not a reflection of your worth, but evidence of the profound psychological impact your presence has created within them. You have unknowingly awakened a part of their inner world that can no longer remain asleep. Real transformation rarely feels comfortable. Before trust becomes natural, fear often demands attention. Before love can grow into something stable, hidden emotional barriers must be recognized. This process is slow because lasting change cannot be forced. It unfolds as the mind gradually learns that genuine connection is not a threat to its survival, but an opportunity to become more authentic than ever before. The distance you witness may not be the end of the story. It may simply be the space where the deepest inner work is quietly taking place. There comes a moment in every deeply meaningful connection when everything feels uncertain. The excitement that once seemed effortless is replaced by questions, silence, and unexpected emotional distance. Many people believe this uncertainty is a sign that the relationship is failing. But in reality, it is often the point where its true nature is revealed. Strong connections are not defined by how easily they begin, but by what they awaken within each person. When emotions become real, they demand something that attraction alone cannot provide. They demand growth. The greatest obstacle during this stage is not the situation itself, but the way each person responds to it. Fear has a remarkable ability to distort perception. A delayed message becomes evidence of rejection. A quiet moment feels like abandonment. A misunderstanding grows into a story that neither person intended to create. The human mind naturally fills empty spaces with assumptions, and those assumptions are often shaped by past experiences rather than present reality. Without realizing it, people begin reacting to old emotional wounds instead of the person standing before them. This is where patience becomes one of the rarest forms of emotional strength. Patience is not passive waiting or ignoring problems. It is the willingness to resist letting fear make permanent decisions. When uncertainty appears, many people rush to protect themselves. They withdraw before they can be rejected. They end meaningful conversations before becoming too vulnerable. They convince themselves that leaving first is safer than risking disappointment. These reactions may create temporary relief, but they also prevent the deeper understanding that meaningful relationships require. At the same time, emotional awareness becomes essential. It is easy to believe that another person's behavior is entirely about us. Yet, every action is influenced by countless invisible experiences, beliefs, fears, and expectations. Someone who struggles to express affection may not lack love. They may simply have never learned that emotional openness can exist without pain. Someone who hesitates to commit may not fear the relationship itself. They may fear repeating a story they once believed had already broken them. This period of uncertainty becomes a psychological test because it quietly asks both people the same question. Will you allow fear to decide your future, or will you become curious enough to understand what is truly happening beneath the surface? Very few people recognize this choice while they are living through it. Most remain focused on immediate emotions instead of the deeper transformation taking place within them. Yet, every difficult conversation, every moment of doubt, and every emotional challenge creates an opportunity to replace unconscious reactions with conscious understanding. Relationships that survive this stage are rarely perfect. They are simply built by two individuals who gradually become more honest with themselves. They stop expecting another person to heal every insecurity. They begin recognizing their own emotional patterns instead of projecting them onto the relationship. They learn that trust is not created by the absence of uncertainty, but by choosing openness even when certainty does not yet exist. In the end, the challenge is never about proving who loves more or who made fewer mistakes. It is about discovering whether both people are willing to grow beyond the habits that once kept them emotionally safe but spiritually disconnected. The connection itself becomes an invitation to maturity, asking each person to exchange fear for understanding, control for trust, and emotional protection for the courage to build something that neither could have created alone. After every season of confusion, emotional distance, and inner conflict, there comes a quiet moment that many people fail to recognize. It is not marked by dramatic words or extraordinary events. Instead, it begins with a subtle change inside. The fears that once seemed overwhelming lose their power. The need to control every outcome slowly fades. The constant battle between moving closer and pulling away becomes less intense. What has truly changed is not the connection itself, but the person experiencing it. This is where genuine transformation begins. Real emotional growth does not happen because someone else rescues us. It happens because we finally become willing to face the parts of ourselves we spent years avoiding. Many people search endlessly for the perfect relationship, believing it will erase loneliness, insecurity, or fear. Yet no relationship can permanently silence struggles that have never been understood. Those hidden emotions always find a way back. Lasting peace begins when a person stops running from their own inner world and starts listening to it with honesty instead of judgment. As this transformation unfolds, the way they see the other person also begins to change. In the beginning, emotions are often mixed with expectation, fantasy, and uncertainty. The mind creates stories about what the relationship should become, while fear quietly imagines everything that could go wrong. But as emotional awareness grows, those illusions begin to dissolve. Instead of seeing someone through the lens of anxiety or idealization, they begin seeing them as they truly are, a human being with strengths, imperfections, hopes, and fears of their own. This shift creates a deeper kind of connection, one that is rooted in acceptance rather than projection. Something remarkable happens when two people begin this inner work. Conversations become more honest because there is less need to hide behind emotional defenses. Silence no longer feels like rejection because trust has replaced constant suspicion. Differences become opportunities for understanding instead of reasons to escape. The relationship stops feeling like a battlefield where each person must protect themselves and starts becoming a place where both individuals feel safe enough to grow together. This change is rarely visible to the outside world. Friends may notice nothing unusual. Daily life may continue as before. Yet internally, everything has shifted. The person who once reacted with fear now responds with calm reflection. The one who once avoided vulnerability begins expressing thoughts and emotions with quiet confidence. They no longer seek constant reassurance because they have discovered a deeper sense of emotional stability within themselves. Their peace no longer depends entirely on another person's actions. Perhaps the greatest realization of all is understanding that the obstacle was never the relationship itself. It was the collection of old beliefs carried into it. Fear of abandonment, fear of rejection, fear of not being enough. And fear of being truly seen created barriers that neither love nor time could remove on their own. Only self-awareness could dissolve them. Once those barriers begin to fall, love is no longer experienced.